Can you find motivated sellers for your real estate wholesaling business using Facebook ads in your local market? And most importantly, what are the key aspects to having a successful appointment with a motivated seller? And I'm here to talk to you about that today because I just came back from a motivated seller appointment from someone that saw my Facebook ad, and I want to walk you through that appointment. There's a lot of learning lessons in the appointment today. I'm doing it in the car because I don't want to forget, and I'm going to also show you some pictures and some photos of the house, and that way you can have a really clear understanding of the situation. Let's set the groundwork. Number one, we're talking about wholesaling. Wholesaling is going out and finding a property, finding a motivated seller that is interested in selling their property and are willing to trade their equity for something else. Because another part of this appointment, really, there's just so many lessons. As I was at this appointment, I was like, man, there are so many lessons here to teach you on this. People never give up their equity. Sometimes people ask, are you going out there to the marketplace and are you taking advantage of people? Are you stealing their equity? And the answer is no. The answer is that if under the right circumstances and if you approach this in the right way, then you are going to be helping someone in a way that they wouldn't be able to help themselves. And today's appointment was in fact that a very, very great example of that. So again, we're talking about wholesaling. I got this lead through a Facebook ad that I ran in my local county using my system. I just started a campaign. I stop and restart campaigns all the time. This one I just started. I paid about $18 for the lead. Not bad, considering that sometimes it might cost you, upwards of, I talked to someone the other day that they're spending $180 for a direct mail lead. And I just got an amazing lead for 18 bucks. Now, and their cost to do a deal is over $3,000. So think about that. If it costs you $180 to get a lead and you end up spending $3,000 to get a deal, you knew the numbers in terms of the number of leads you need. So this particular lead came in through Facebook. So I don't have these things in any one particular order. So I'm just going to tell these things to you as they come to me. Now, the person, the owner of this property, is an older gentleman. I think he definitely was 65-ish, 70 years old. So again, if you ever doubt and say, Chico, my property owners are older, there's no way that they're on Facebook. The answer is that this is a prime example of that. Now, I don't know if he was the one that filled out the ad. It could have been that somebody else filled it out for him because they know that he wants to sell and said, hey, why don't you talk to this person here, etc. So that's how, but either way though, it's an older gentleman. If you're interested in learning the strategy that I use to get this lead, in the description is a link to a playlist that is a 4-part series on how to find motivated sellers using Facebook advertising. So check that out. So this particular property owner we spoke with over the phone, and they initially told us a price of $250,000, which, estimating the retail value of this property, if it was completely done well, maybe could be about $315-ish or so. So $250 to $315, it depends on what it needs. We then asked what is the best that they could do, and in the end it was $230 that they mentioned to us that they could do on the property. That was it, bottom line. So it was my wife to handle the call, and so she set the appointment for me, and I went because I'm lazy, but it happens to be like 10 minutes away from my kids' school, so I drop off my kids at school and I made the appointment to go there. So I go up to the house, and Justin will show some photos here and videos here. I go up to the house, and I can tell, like, okay, this is exactly our type of property. It needs a lot of work, needs a lot of repairs. It looks like it just from the outside. I knock on the door. I see as I'm walking up to the house that there is a lot of stuff. And later on, as I walk through the rear of the house, there's quite a bit of stuff around the house. So, there's definitely a challenge there with what's going on. So the owner comes out of the house, and he doesn't want me to go in. Now, he doesn't want me to go in I notice that there's a bunch of stuff all over the place. So I have to assume that there's just so much stuff in there that either don't feel comfortable allowing me in, or they just don't feel comfortable allowing me in. It's probably very difficult to get around because there's probably just a lot of stuff packed all over the house. It's going to be a difficult situation. So I'm fine. So I go around. He says, hey, take a look at the backyard. I go around the backyard to take a look at the pool area, and I can't get over the fence, so I use my phone and I browse through, and you can tell that the pool hasn't been used in a very, very long time. The structure is there, but there's no water, and it's empty, and it looks like a mess. Then he walks me around the other side of the house, and I walk around, and I see that there's a lot of stuff in there. And so obviously what's outside, I'm gonna assume is an indication of what's inside. Now, the benefits of this house is that it does have the roof is new, 2 years. The electrical has been updated, so it's not the original fuses. It's circuit breakers. That's about 20 years old, but that's fine. But at least it's been updated. And then the air conditioning unit is only a couple years old. So that's like some big items, especially the roof and the electrical. Those are big items. Now, in essence, it's a 4-bedroom, 2-bath. However, it's considered a 4-bedroom because the garage has been converted. The garage doesn't have a closet, but I think you can easily make a closet. So let's assume that it's 4 bedrooms and a pool. It's in a corner lot. It's in a busy street, but nevertheless, it has some good things related to that. Now, as we're walking through, there's a couple things that I wanted to better understand. Number one is I needed to understand that particular owner's situation. So when you're speaking with a property owner, and obviously you're speaking to them because they think that you're a solution to whatever problem they have. You can go in there and just be like, hey, I'll offer you 180, right? Or I offer you 175, and you go right into the negotiation. And I don't think that's the right approach. The right approach is to fully understand what is it that they need, to understand why they reached out to you, to then come up with a suggestion on a plan and a price that makes sense for them. So that way it makes it a more viable situation, right? So you understand what the situation is. So one of the questions that I ask, I see all this stuff around the house. So I say, a couple questions. Are you planning on leaving everything at the house? Or are you taking it with you? He says, well, we're going to take some stuff, but we're going to leave most of it. I said, okay, because one of the things that we can do is if we come to an agreement on if we can work something out, then we can buy the property as is, and then you take what you want and you leave the rest of the stuff there, and we'll take care of it. And he says, okay, yeah, that's great. That's what I need. Next question to ask is, so, and I asked this question as we're walking around the outside of the yard is, you moving out of the area? Okay. He says, I'm moving up to Central Florida. So I'm like, what's your time frame? Like, I ask, what is your time frame? Are you looking to do this and move in the next 30 days, the next 60 days? So he says, well, no, I mean, we still haven't found a place for us. So we still need, we need at least a couple months. We're thinking 6 months, but if we can do something sooner, that'd be great. So then one of the questions I ask, which is a great question to ask, which is a question I think you should ask of every seller, is I say typically when someone buys a house, the day of closing, you get your money and you're also out. And he immediately goes, oh, no. I said, yes, that's why I asked that question. One of the options that we have is that we can go ahead and close on the property, allow you to be there at the property for a certain period of time. And then that way you have your money in your hand, you can do what you want to do, and then we'll take over afterwards. And he says, yes, that's what I need. So see, if you think about it, those are things that they can't get with a real estate agent. Those are things that are very difficult for them. They need our help in order to figure that stuff out. So then I said, well, how much time do you think you need? He says, well, maybe 4 to 6 weeks. I said, well, I'm going to assume that you need 60 days. He said, yeah. So he says, I'll pay rent, etc. I said, well, typically what happens is then we would close on the property. The price would already incorporate you being at the property for 60 days. And then with the title company, you put up a small deposit. And I use the word small relative to, probably like a $3 or $4 or $5,000 deposit with the title company, just to make sure that you don't decide after a couple months that, hey, I'm going to be here for a while. And he goes, yeah, no, I understand. I said, is that something that would help you? Yes, it would. The next question I asked was, now, again, listening. He said that he used to be a contractor. So again, we were the price was $250 that he said over the phone. We asked him what the best you can do. $230 is what he said. So I said, oh, you used to be a contractor. Okay. So I asked him, I said, well, I know that he knows. I know that how do I phrase this? He knows that there's work involved in the house. I asked him, so let me ask you this. What do you think? We go in and we fix up the entire house, beginning to end. I'm going to assume that you've got a big mess in there. I'm going to take everything out, clear everything out, and I'm going to rebuild the house from scratch. Because he said, oh, we got a new kitchen cabinets. And then he said it was like 20 years ago. And in my mind, I'm like, okay, those are not new. So I said, what do you think it's worth if the house was fixed up? So again, I'm trying to establish a frame of reference. And he says, well, on those websites, so again, your customers are looking at Zillow, Trulia. On those websites, Zillow, and I can't remember the other ones, the property shows anywhere between $275 to $315, $285 or something like that. I said, okay, why don't we assume that it's worth there in the middle? Okay. So he goes, $300 fixed up. Would you agree with that? He goes, yeah, I would agree with that. I said, well, you're a contractor. How much do you think it'll take to completely fix this house up? He goes like 40 to 50,000. And I said, yeah, I think so. So I said to him, I'm trying to think about how I said it to him. I said, well, just to make sure that we're on the same page. So typically we go in and we repair the whole entire house, beginning to end. So it's a trade-off. Instead of you doing it, or instead of you, you're dealing with everything, you're giving it to us. We'll make it convenient for you. We'll handle all of that. We'll allow you to stay at the property. We'll clear it out. We'll do all of that. In exchange, then there's a bit of an exchange. We do that, and then we're looking to make a little bit of a profit on that. It's a trade-off. And he goes, yeah, I understand. I said, let's start. Let's start at the number. I know you said 230, but let's just use a number of 250. If we bought it at 300, and if we put 50 into it, right? If we bought it at 250 and we put 50 into it, and that doesn't account for closing costs or anything like that, then, and he said, yeah, you wouldn't make any money. I said, yeah. Now you said 230, that's the best you can do, but with closing costs and everything else, that's going to be a little bit tight. And he goes, yeah, I see that. I said, so, we couldn't do 230. I can see what we can do, but it wouldn't be 230. Now, what I did is, then I said to him, look, your house is a 4.2. Typically, houses in this area are 3.2s. So now I'm going to do an anchor. I'm going to do an anchor to see where he's at. And I say, typically those houses are we buy a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, somewhere between 165 to 175. I'm not expecting, I'm throwing that number out there. However, yours is a 4-bedroom. So, and so that's a plus. So I think now with that, the range then tends to be somewhere between 185-ish to 205-ish, something like that. Do you think that that's something that would work for you? And his response was, yeah, maybe. So again, on the phone he said 230. Bottom line, like that's it, not a penny less. Now we're having a conversation about, hey, here is at a more reasonable price. And again, it's a reasonable price because if a rehab is going to be done and he's going to stay there for 2 months, and that's you're wholesaling it, so your buyer has holding costs and everything else, it's a bit of a situation there. And so then now all of a sudden now we're talking numbers that make sense for everybody involved. How did that happen? Could this have happened? this is a good example of a deal that would be difficult to ascertain unless it was this way, unless it was a physical situation. Now, however, with an asterisk, if I was doing this deal virtually, I would perhaps agree to the 230. I would get somebody to take photos, do an inspection, and then have a better understanding of what the situation is. And at that point, then we'd come back for a price reduction. Is it possible that we would still get a price reduction and we would come to an agreement on a number? The answer is probably yes. But I was there locally, so it makes sense. It made sense for me to go. So, you know, there's so many lessons here. I think the biggest lessons that I want to make sure you walk away with is number one is your sellers are on Facebook. They're there. It's a tremendously affordable. You know, in order for you, if I was going to target this area, I had to spend at least a couple $1,000s in marketing just to get the ball rolling. I put an ad up for $30 a day, and I got a lead for $18. And the ad is just started, and I'm still gonna produce leads. I got another appointment on another house early. I'm all over the place today. I decided to leave the office. Every so often, I want to leave the house, so I just go look at properties. Secondly, is really understanding and having a deep and thorough understanding of the value that you provide to people and the solution that you provide. So that enables you to ask the right questions and to really determine if that person can be helped with what you got. Because I can tell you this, I know without a shadow of a doubt that he needs to sell to an investor. He needs to sell to an investor that is going to accommodate him and work with him to do what he wants to do next. It would be a very difficult task for him to do otherwise. Very difficult task. And so he's a perfect scenario of what this business is about. And the fact is that nobody gives up their equity. Nobody is giving away at the corner their equity to their houses. We don't steal equity. We provide a fair value proposition to someone that gives them another option, an easier way to handle their situation when it comes to their house and their property. And that is the video for today. I will do an update for you on a subsequent video for the channel on this deal here. And right now, what I'm going to do, I told him I'd get back with him. I got to talk to, I got to kind of figure out some numbers there. I think I said I didn't want to, he didn't let me inside the house. So I said, is it possible that when I go to the house, if we get together again, maybe I could bring my contractor, i.e. buyer, and you can take a look at the house? We can take a look at the house? He said, well, it wouldn't be for a couple weeks because I got dogs, I got everything else in there. So then that lets me know that, okay, can't get in there. And so I'm going to try to negotiate the best price that I can and get something signed from him. And that's it. I think that's what I got for you. I got to go because I'm running late. I just pulled up to the gas station. Check out the videos that I have on how to find motivated sellers using Facebook ads. I've got people that have taken my free training and gotten their ads up and running. However, if you want personal help from me, be able to look at your campaigns, look at what you're doing, etc., click the link in the description, attend the training that I have that will then give you the opportunity for you and I to work together. All right, hope you found this video valuable. Let me know if you did. Make a comment, give me a thumbs up, watch one of the videos that you see here or in the description, and I'll talk to you soon.